This is a compilation of what dying patients have said right before dying that I kind of scraped through different articles on the internet, off Reddit, x.com. These are reports from real former hospice nurse patients and even some studies and magazine articles. And it's all the fringe and almost kind of scary things dying patients have said right before they've passed away. Hi there. If you're new to my channel, I'm Dr. Andrea O'Connor, where we just talk about, very interesting things. And this time we're going to talk about maybe a little bit more of the kind of the scary or unexplained things. Because usually I talk about 95% of the times, family, loved ones, pets, friends come to the dying to bring them to the other side. But I don't really talk that much about what happens when that very rare, maybe 5%, and maybe even less than that, when it doesn't go as planned. Okay, so top 5 things that we compiled here. So number 1, shadows and creepy entities. Now, I do have videos on my channel where I talk a little bit about this already, but I'm not the only one that's talking about this. So some patients are reporting seeing dark shadows or quote unquote creepy little things, that they describe as unsettling, frightening. It puts them in a state of terror. The former hospice nurse that did share on her ex-post that in the room where she was in with them, it created a heavy, oppressive atmosphere. Like, if you ever walked in the room and the air is so heavy, it just doesn't feel right. Like, you just feel unsettled. Like, you're like, I don't know, I think I'm not going to stay in this hotel room, or I'm not going to return to this restaurant. Something just doesn't feel right. It's got that heavy, oppressive, if you've never experienced it, it is hard to describe. So the former nurse that worked in hospice said these patients throughout their dying process, and I'm going to say this is rare because I don't want to upset you, but these rare processes, it looks like the patient's being tortured right before death. That is what this hospice nurse is saying. So she does go on to say the room felt unnaturally heavy. The patient seemed like they were just terrified, and it was really hard to calm them down. And I mean, I've seen that too, so I get it. Number 2, this is wild. And thank God, I've not actually ever seen this, I don't think. Demons or the devil. So in rare accounts, and I'm saying this has got to be very rare, patients express terror at seeing actual demonic figures or even the devil approaching them. So a nurse's story that was circulating on X described a non-Christian woman. Now that is key here because she was literally screaming, "The devil is here, he's coming to get me," before collapsing dead. That's horrifying. Thank God I have never witnessed that. I have witnessed patients seeing things that they don't understand or that made them fearful or anxious. And I'm not going to go into that in depth right here because I have whole videos on that. You can go back in my content and look at that. I think the name of the video is like Evil in the Room or something like that. And this former hospice nurse also shared that there was another experience where her patient died with a horrific, contorted, horrified expression on his face, and that his face stayed that way. The room also, she said, felt unnaturally heavy, oppressive, dark, and that even the caregivers, because in facilities, we always have to prepare the body before they transfer to the morgue or the mortuary or whatever. But those workers also described feeling extremely unsettled because you don't ever see that. You don't see a face like that. It's extremely rare. And honestly, how long have I been in healthcare? Since I've been in healthcare since the late 80s, but when I was actually licensed, 1998. So a very long time, like more than 30 years. I've only seen that face once on a dying patient, once. It's extremely rare. That's the good news. Number 3, frightening hallucinations. So, caregivers and doctors and nurses are talking about patients seeing vivid, scary images, but they're tying it, the caregivers are tying it to past traumas. So, for example, someone reliving a war scene at the end of life. Well, yeah, that PTSD, that makes sense. or they're on particular medications and they describe seeing jellyfish swimming across their room. Yeah, I can understand that with certain medications. A systematic review in the American Journal of Hospice and Palliative Care noted these incidences as causing the confusion and fear. So it's not always an entity or something evil. I'm going to say it again, extremely rare. It may just be the medications, the PSD, past traumas, just kind of like bubbling up. Yeah. And a lot of people have been through extreme trauma in their childhood or whatnot, and these memories start bubbling up at the end of life. It's almost like doing a life review before you've passed on. I can get on board with that. That does make sense. Hospice resources from Crossroads Hospice describe these as bad dreams or hallucination, and that's what's frightening the person. Yes, I think that can happen some of the time. Maybe more of the time than the other thing. That's extremely rare, right? Yeah, seeing actual dark entities. Number 4, delusions of harm or persecution. So some patients are experiencing extreme paranoia or delusions of those around them trying to harm them. And this can lead to extreme agitation or paranoia. Where I can get on board with this is, for example, medical marijuana that's used at end of life with patients with like terminal cancer. Yes, you can get paranoid. You can have irrational thoughts. Certain medications can do that as well. And however, it could also be a family member. What if a family member is driving in from out of town that the patient hasn't seen in years? Maybe there was a bad relationship. Maybe the patient knew that family member traumatized them. Like, we don't know their history. And now all of a sudden they're at the bedside. Why are they there? Is there an inheritance? Why are they circling now like a bird? Yeah, I think that could be a part of it too. They don't mention dark shadows and spirits though. They're trying to highlight it might be past traumas coming up, past memories, and they kind of stay away from, they stay away from the supernatural stuff. And I get it. I'm in healthcare. I get it. Most people don't talk about this in journals and among each other. We're always talking about it behind closed doors and with colleagues that we trust. Yeah. The good news is I've had quite a few physicians and nurses comment on my page that they're experiencing similar things. And I love that because it's just validation that I'm not out here on my own saying all these things. Yeah. Okay, the last one's really interesting. Crowded room filled with spirits. So patients are reported to seeing all of a sudden their room is filled with spirits, and a lot of them, they're unknown. They don't know who these spirits, or I'll just call them people, are, and that they even say there's some entities that are popping in and popping out of the room. So a lot of patients say this. And this hospice nurse named Carolyn, I won't say her last name, mentioned in her post that her patients described the room as being crowded with strangers, causing the patient to be extremely stressed and even a little bit terrified because she didn't know who all these people were. This has been reported quite a bit. Have you ever had a family member say that? I also think maybe some of these spirits coming in, is it possible, because I do believe we go on, and I do believe we had more than one life. That is just what I personally believe. I can't prove it. But maybe these spirits they don't recognize from the other side are from a past life, or are guardian angels, or higher selves, or anything, right? And maybe that's why they look like strangers. I'm just saying that could be a cause. Okay, so those are the top 5 unusual things. Again, I want to say it's very rare for this to happen. And so, kind of put a pin in that there. Okay. Thanks for being here. Comment below if you've had a loved one experience this, or if you've heard of this or whatever. I would really like to know. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you on the next one.